While reading the diary of Emperor Roselle, Klein was deeply moved by the simplified Chinese characters and the identity of the fellow time traveler. In the diary, Emperor Roselle recorded crucial information about potions, such as digestion and role-playing, which were invaluable to Klein. He yearned to find more diaries to unlock the secrets of the mysterious realm. During a conversation with Old Neil, Klein learned about the rarity of extraordinary events and the preciousness of Roselle's diaries. The two also humorously discussed the idea of establishing a society for the protection of magical creatures, easing the tense atmosphere. While collecting weapons and equipment, Klein had a light-hearted exchange with Old Neil, but couldn't shake his fixation on the contents of Roselle's diaries. He regretted not asking more about sequences and potions, but found new hope in his exploration journey with the newly acquainted night watchman, Leonard Mitchell. Klein returned to the reception hall, where Rose informed him that the captain asked him to come back on Monday to handle personal matters first. Grateful for this humane management, Klein originally planned to inform the University of Tianjin that he would not attend the interview, but now could leisurely go. He inquired about the starting sequence controlled by the church, and Rose was surprised if he wanted to become an extraordinary being, warning of the dangers. Klein explained he just wanted to understand common knowledge, and Rose, whose father was once a night watchman, became excited, but eventually revealed that the church's starting sequence was Sleepless, Sequence 9. Klein learned that Captain Dunn was Sequence 7 Nightmare, one of only 2 in Tianjin City. Rose also mentioned other sequences like Seer and Medium, and Klein was interested in Seer as it aligned with his desire to explore mysterious knowledge. Finally, Klein decided to treat his sister to a good meal with his newly earned 12 pounds. Walking along Zotter Street, Klein, with only 3 pence left, decided to buy a cane to make change for the 4-pence public carriage fare. He entered the Vierkel hats and cloaks shop and chose a moderately priced water-soaked wood cane. When paying, he tried to haggle but failed, eventually leaving satisfied with his purchase. Back at the apartment, he practiced using the cane and revolver, enhancing his sense of security. When Melissa returned home, Klein suggested going out to celebrate his new job. Despite Melissa's concerns about moving and increased expenses, Klein insisted on the start of a new life. Klein and Melissa discussed moving matters, with Klein emphasizing decorum and social rules, while Melissa cared about thrift and the future. Klein eventually convinced Melissa, planning to move to a townhouse with a private washroom and mentioning waiting for Benson to return before acting. Melissa mentioned her classmate Selena's brother postponing marriage for a stable life, while Klein assured her of his stable salary, not needing to worry excessively. Then, Klein suggested a celebration, and Melissa agreed but emphasized the need for thrift. Klein bought ingredients and gave Melissa extra money for fruit and lemon cake, showing his care for his sister. Klein went to the University of Tianjin to handle the interview matters, appreciating the university environment and reminiscing about his rowing experience. He informed in advance that he would not attend the interview, as he had found a job, receiving congratulations from the faculty member Haven Stone. He coincidentally met his mentor Kern and the faculty member Azik, discussing job choices in the case of Welch, with Azik feeling familiar with Antigonus but unable to recall details. Azik and Quentin Kern discussed historical issues, and Klein expressed interest in the history of the Fourth Epoch, requesting information from them. Kern was satisfied with Klein's performance, and Azik asked for Klein's address, learning he was about to move. Kern reminded Klein to improve his living environment. Klein inquired about reports on Welch and Naya, but due to the tight meeting time, Azik handed the newspaper to Klein and left. Klein read the newspaper, finding reports on the Welch case, with the police having identified the suspect. He felt a sense of being watched, and decided to seek help at the Church of St. Selena. Inside the church, he contacted Dunn Smith through the confessional, reporting being followed. Klein followed the middle-aged priest through a dimly lit corridor, passing through heavily guarded passages and entering underground stone steps. The priest indicated that the left path at the crossroads led to the Charnus Gate, and Klein responded with religious rituals. He descended alone, turning back to see the priest standing like a wax statue, continuing to the crossroads and returning to the Blackthorn Security Company without turning towards the Charnus Gate. In the reception hall, Klein spoke with Rose, learning the captain's location. He found Dunn and reported being followed. Dunn speculated it could be a private detective hired by Welch's father or someone seeking the Antigonus family notebook. Dunn advised Klein to return the same way, doing anything he wanted, but not scaring off the follower or breaking the law. Klein returned to the church, seeing the middle-aged priest again, then left the church, feeling persistent surveillance. He suspected the follower had a dark past, fearing the church. Klein went to the Zotter shooting club to practice his marksmanship, enhancing his self-defense capabilities. After practice, Klein returned home, sharing the good news with his brother Benson. He had found a new job with a weekly salary of £3. They decided to celebrate, planning to buy ingredients together in the afternoon. Klein expressed dissatisfaction with the complex currency system, and Benson responded humorously, both laughing. Benson seriously rebutted, "No, not one of them," and Klein understood after a pause, both laughing again. Benson added, "A reasonable and simple currency system requires knowing numbers and the decimal system, but there are too few such talents among the bigwigs." Klein and Benson had humorous interactions during dinner, discussing the rental contract and landlord Frank's intelligence. Benson planned to visit the landlord with Klein the next day to view the house. After dinner, Klein went to the market to buy ingredients, feeling watched but not contacted. Back home, he did simple exercises and reviewed textbooks. In the evening, the three siblings enjoyed a hearty dinner, celebrating Klein's new job with a warm atmosphere. After dinner, they cleaned up and studied individually until late at night. In his dream, Klein received instructions from Captain Dunn that someone had infiltrated his room. Waking up, he found a stranger searching through his things. Klein's heart raced, his body trembling, momentarily losing focus. The intruder's pause allowed him to regain his senses, quickly reaching for the revolver under his pillow. Klein's heartbeat accelerated. Facing the intruder, he calmly grasped the revolver under his pillow, aiming more to intimidate than to attack. The intruder, faced with the gun, slowly turned around, and Klein remained calm, guiding the intruder towards the door. As the door half opened, the intruder suddenly crouched and rolled, the door slamming shut. Then, the serene sound of poetry came, allowing Benson and others to fall asleep again. Klein realized his bullets were blanks and patiently waited for the fight to end. Soon, Dunn Smith announced the problem solved and revealed the intruder was from the secret society related to the Antigonus family notebook. Dunn offered Klein the choice to become an extraordinary being, introducing 3 Sequence 9 options: seer, corpse collector, and fortune teller. Klein showed interest in seer and fortune teller, especially the latter, as Emperor Roselle had expressed regret about it. Klein inquired about the abilities of fortune teller, and Dunn explained it involved astrology, card divination, etc., but lacked direct combat means. Klein hesitated, and Dunn advised him to make a decision by Monday. After returning home, Klein's emotions settled, reminiscing about the past, and eventually made his choice. The next day, Klein discussed renting matters with his family, with Benson mentioning the Tingen City Housing Improvement Company, offering options for the lower middle class. They went to the company, where Scott greeted them and introduced several unrented townhouses. The siblings decided to view the house at Narcissus Street 2. Narcissus Street 2, 4, and 6 were connected gray-blue buildings, with Mr. Scott leading Klein, Benson, and Melissa on a tour. The living room was spacious, the dining room connected to the living room, the kitchen and washroom on the first floor, and 4 bedrooms and 2 washrooms on the second floor. Scott mentioned the rent and deposit, and Klein inquired about the purchase price, learning it was £850, feeling the pressure after mental calculations. Benson successfully negotiated the rent to 12 shillings, signing the contract and notarizing it. The siblings returned to their old residence, negotiating the lease termination with Mr. Frank, with Benson successfully convincing Frank to accept compensation by citing rent increases and finding new tenants. Then, they bought formal wear and moved, busy until evening. The next day, Klein, dressed in new formal wear, went to the Blackthorn Security Company, discussing career choices with Captain Dunn, ultimately deciding to become a fortune teller. Dunn gazed at Klein, the silence conveying pressure, but Klein firmly returned the gaze. Dunn warned of the irreversible nature of potions, and Klein responded with a smile, respecting his inner choice, firmly replying, "Fortune teller." Dunn Smith and Klein exchanged glances. A moment of silence followed, and Dunn warned of the irreversible nature of potion consumption. Klein responded resolutely, choosing the fortune teller potion. Dunn led him underground, explaining the sources of mystical knowledge, including exploration, divine blessings, and dangerous whispers. They reached the alchemy room, where Dunn arranged for Old Neil to prepare the potion, reminding Klein to be cautious. Old Neil briefly described the potion preparation process, emphasizing the precision of key ingredients. Finally, Klein witnessed the birth of the fortune teller potion, feeling the mysterious gaze. Facing the deep blue, viscous potion, Klein hesitated, asking if a ritual or incantation was needed. Old Neil humorously suggested a series of relaxation activities, eventually explaining these were just methods to relieve tension. Klein mustered his courage and drank the potion, instantly feeling a cold, stimulating sensation, his vision blurring, colors intensifying, as if entering a world filled with light and illusions. He realized he was still in place, returning to normal through conscious descent, but feeling his head swell and hearing mysterious whispers. Old Neil guided him to control the overflowing potion power through meditation, and Klein successfully entered a meditative state, feeling calm. Old Neil then taught him clairvoyance, and Klein gradually mastered it, seeing the aura colors of himself and Old Neil, eventually discovering a pair of nearly illusory eyes behind Old Neil, feeling dinging. Old Neil demonstrated a ritual magic symbol, and Klein found it magical, beginning to explore the alchemy room through clairvoyance. He discovered that the materials of supernatural species still had residual spirituality, crucial for potion preparation. Old Neil mentioned the root causes of extraordinary beings losing control, and shared the formula for the corpse collector potion, making Klein uncomfortable. Klein wondered why he hadn't seen spirits, and Old Neil explained that this was because the headquarters of the Night Watch team had many extraordinary beings, not allowing spirits to wander. Klein experienced eyebrow twitching and hallucinations, and Old Neil explained this was a normal effect of clairvoyance on new extraordinary beings, teaching him how to exit the clairvoyant state. After practice, Klein learned to open and close clairvoyance by lightly tapping his eyebrows twice. After overusing clairvoyance, Klein felt extremely tired, and Old Neil advised him to go home and rest. After returning home, Klein slept, waking up to check the time, ensuring he hadn't missed the gathering with the Hanged Man and Justice. He reviewed historical textbooks, preparing for the gathering. At the gathering time, he entered the temple above the gray fog through a specific ritual, ready to communicate with the Hanged Man and Justice. In the dimly lit basement, Alaj Welson gazed at a mysterious black liquid in a bottle, the liquid inside emitting the sound of waves, with fog writhing on the surface. The time pointed to 3, and Allah's eyes suddenly turned black. Deep red light then surged, engulfing him. In the Hall family's residence in Belkland, Odeli locked her room door, preparing to record the formula. She eagerly looked at the mirror, only to see deep red light erupt, swallowing her. Above the gray fog, in the temple, deep red light gushed from both sides of the bronze long table, forming 2 vague figures. Odeli greeted Mr. Fool and Mr. Hangman, and Klein observed their auras, finding that Mr. Hangman seemed to be a powerful, extraordinary being. Odeli inquired about the reception of the ghost shark blood, and Alaj thanked her, preparing to inform her of the audience potion formula. He emphasized the precautions for preparing the potion, and Odeli carefully recorded it. Klein suddenly interjected, proposing the concepts of digestion and role-playing, deeply inspiring Alaj, who considered it a precious hint. Klein proposed a commission, hoping to gather the secret diaries of Roselle Gustav. The secret diaries of Emperor Roselle caught the attention of Mr. Fool. Klein and Alaj discussed the interpretation of the diaries, with Klein hinting that he might have a method of interpretation. Odeli tried to imagine transferring the text, demonstrating Mr. Fool's mysterious abilities. Klein explained the requirements of the audience potion, emphasizing the importance of maintaining neutral observation. Allah shared news about the voyage of Admiral Ludwig, while Klein revealed the secret society losing the Antigonus family notebook, sparking a discussion about the reaction of the Church of the Goddess of Night. Odeli shared practical tips for social occasions and political pressure. The entire exchange was filled with a mysterious and information-exchanging atmosphere. Odeli discussed government chaos, and Klein proposed a civil service examination system. Alaj mocked ministers as no better than baboons. Klein explained the details of the examination, and Odeli was surprised by the simplicity and effectiveness of the plan. The gathering ended, and Klein pondered the issue of new members, deciding to act cautiously. He experienced the abilities of extraordinary beings, contemplating the role of fortune teller. Odeli recorded the potion formula, planning to obtain the materials. Alaj reflected on Mr. Fool's mystery. Klein, under the scorching sun, changed into plain clothes and walked towards Welch's residence. On the way, he recalled the circus trainer and the Antigonus family notebook, feeling heavy-hearted. At the Slynn Bakery, Mrs. Winton's sweet iced tea and casual chat lifted his spirits. Continuing on, Klein felt the oppressive atmosphere of the street, using clairvoyance to discover the residents' pessimistic emotions. He decided to explore Welch's residence, but found no notebook. Then, he noticed the sign of the fortune-telling club and decided to explore it, considering joining to enhance his fortune-telling skills. Klein arrived at the fortune-telling club, inquiring about fortune-telling matters. The receptionist introduced several members, including the expensive Haynes and the beginner Graces. Klein chose Graces, despite the receptionist's reminder that he was a beginner. Klein insisted, and the two had a fortune-telling session, with Graces offering a free exchange, but Klein insisted on paying. The fortune-telling results showed that the item Klein sought might not have been found by others. Klein also noticed Graces might have health issues and advised him to see a doctor. Leaving the club, Klein planned to join it to better play the role of fortune teller. He then went to the Blackthorn Security Company, discussing the mystery of the Antigonus family notebook with Leonard. Klein and Leonard discussed the possible fate of the notebook, with Klein speculating it might be hidden to prepare for future sacrifices, while Leonard suggested it might be destroyed to cover up evil. Klein expressed dissatisfaction with Leonard's suspicions, but Leonard shifted the topic, asking about Klein's findings, who said there were no new discoveries and planned to change routes. Klein went to the armory to collect bullets, encountering Rose and Blight, with Rose curious about Klein becoming an extraordinary being, and Blight expressing awe for extraordinary beings. Klein collected bullets and left with Rose, practicing shooting and physical training. Back home, Klein discussed family finances with Melissa, successfully convincing her to take public carriages to save time for studying. The next day, Klein and Benson went to work separately, with Klein encountering Old Neil and Rose at the company, starting new mystical studies, with Old Neil teaching an interesting technique. Klein was curious about Old Neil's mystical technique, and Old Neil asked him to make 2 cups of coffee, one with something bad. Klein did so, adding soul dirt to 1 cup. Old Neil used divination to confirm which cup was problematic, and explained the principles of divination. Klein became deeply interested in divination techniques, deciding to apply for the purchase of divination tools. Old Neil then began teaching Klein the basics of mystical studies, including symbols and constellations. After the lesson, Old Neil advised Klein to practice more and meditate, supporting his decision to join the fortune-telling club to enhance his divination skills. Klein decided to apply for the fees to join the club to better monitor potential cultists. Finally, Old Neil expressed dissatisfaction with the dirt Klein added to the coffee, demanding he handle it immediately.